Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is your pilot speaking, Luz WX. We're going to be taking off in this beautiful Airbus A320neo. We're going to be checking out the New York Skyline, taking off from LaGuardia Airport. Firstly, let's go ahead and show the graphics settings real quickly. Okay, so we are running a render resolution of 3040 by 2160 on my 4K 144 Hz display. We are running NVIDIA DLSS Super Resolution with DLA, form of anti-aliasing, which is an advanced anti-aliasing with a higher quality visual presentation. DLSS frame generation is turned on. VSync is off. HDR10 is enabled. We have to wait 2 or 3 days for that to process on YouTube. We are running DirectX 12 beta mode, which is required when using frame generation. 200% level train level detail. All these settings here are ultra. Object level detail also set to 200. And all these settings here are ultra, high, all the way maxed out, fully maxed settings. With I know this frame generation sometimes causes some distortion there, that's why it's kind of looking a little fuzzy. That's just an issue with frame generation, but everything's fully maxed out. And put your tray tables in upright position, and we're going to be taking off from LaGuardia Airport. Enjoy the flight, guys. I did enable some clouds to put a little bit more heavy GPU utilization. And I also will test 1440p and 1080p resolutions. Enjoy. Now this distortion is because I'm using frame generation. Sometimes what you could do is you could change the resolution and it will fix it. So let's go down to 1440p. Just briefly, just so I can fix this little jitteriness, which is a after effect of frame generation. So let me go ahead and apply here. Sometimes you get to apply 2 times on Flight Simulator. And that should remove the jitteriness that we saw prior. And then in a little bit I'll put it back to 4K. But yeah, this is always an interesting title to benchmark, and I never did really test it in my 4080 Super. I don't know, for some reason I just didn't test it. Not really particularly sure why. But I am testing it now, and we're going to see how it plays at 1440p and 4K. A little bit of a frame stutter there, probably traversal stutter. But this is always an interesting title to benchmark because it is very CPU intensive, and it also does create a lot of GPU bottlenecks at some parts of the world. Like if you're in open world, like say like in the mountains or somewhere where there's not much to render, it usually runs pretty good, like probably pretty smooth without any frame drops. But whenever you're flying by New York City, which is one of the heavier benchmark scenes, it is very, very heavy on the both CPU and GPU. And you'll see the GPU utilization change up a lot. But right now it's doing pretty well, 90%, 93, 95. So not too bad with a clock speed of 2050 megahertz. So it's actually running pretty decent, better than it usually does. But it will vary as we get closer to the city because there's so many textures, buildings, geometry for the GPU to render, and then also a lot of that gets offloaded to the CPU. So we'll see how it runs. Let me go ahead and go back to 4K to see if we could improve that jitteriness that was giving us an issue prior. So that's when you go to 1440p and back to 4K, it will fix that issue. So if you do ever have that weird frame gen jitteriness like that, I don't know how to explain it, but it does get fixed if you change the resolution. And then as you can see now, it's fine. So we'll fly around New York City, show the skyline. We will fly over Central Park and just see how everything runs. And we'll take things from there. Enjoy the flight, guys. guess my internet's being slow, not really sure why, but that's why the textures look a little bit dull. I'm not downloading anything from what I understand, but we'll work our way around it. Maybe it'll improve. And then I'm also looking forward to Flight Simulator 2024, which I believe comes out in November, so that'll be another interesting title to test out. And apparently they did make some improvements to make the game run better. Or I don't know why, it's not even a game, it's a flight simulation, but they did make some improvements to make the simulation title run better. However, I did see an Xbox Series X presentation on, I believe it was either IGN or GameSpot, and there was a lot of stutters in their gameplay footage. Now, I'm not sure if that's because their internet was slow, because I know it does use the cloud and a lot of advanced AI features, as well as terrain streaming texture assets, so maybe their internet was slow, I'm not sure, but it looked really, really stuttery when I saw their gameplay footage, so hopefully that won't be an issue in the full release. But just wanted to note that, but I am looking forward to playing that pretty soon. And that it will also be available on Game Pass, so you don't necessarily have to throw them your $100 of money or more, depending on which version of the game you get, which version of the simulation you get. I usually get the premium edition, that's what I got for this one. So I will probably first test it out on Game Pass. If I like it and feel like it's you know, running good at launch, then I'll go ahead and probably buy the premium edition or whatever it's called. So I always like whenever you fly towards the afternoon/evening, you get this nice effect of the sun and clouds after I make this turn around Central Park. And it just looks so good sometimes. Let me play with the weather settings here, see if I could get some sunset action here.
1,000. 1,000.
Oops.
1,000.
I think that'll be good. But I've always liked that scene where you see the clouds and the sun just kind of peeking through the clouds, as well as the buildings kind of looking a little dark, but also kind of bright depending on which angle you're flying. But yeah, this is always kind of a relaxing title to play, I think. And I've probably logged over 300 hours in this title just flying, because I've always been into aviation, which I always mention when I do play this title. When I was a little kid, I remember when I would ride around with my parents' car and we'd, you know, drive by the airport, or we're gonna go, you know, on vacation. I was also always so fascinated by seeing the airplanes, you know, especially these airliners, like a 747 or those bigger planes. You know, seeing them take off, line up on the runway, land, the noise, the engine sounds, the smell of the fuel, like, everything was just so amazing, at least for me as a kid. So I always wanted to be a pilot. I never did pursue that career, but who knows, maybe someday I could still even try it. But yeah, I've always been into aviation, and I've been playing Flight Simulator since like the early 90s. I remember the first version I played was Flight Simulator, I believe it was 1993, I think. But yeah, I have a long history of playing these titles, and I enjoy it just as much as I did as a child, but now even more because it's so realistic and it's so cool. So let's go ahead and go down to 1440p, and then we will see how everything runs at 1440p, which will put the CPU a little bit more of a priority on the CPU because it's lower resolution. Now on my screen, my 4K native screen, I can immediately tell the visuals are degraded. Now I know you probably can't tell on YouTube compression because it doesn't really have the exact same quality as my screen when I'm playing this live. But I can definitely tell the visual fidelity is definitely reduced. I gotta remember to do the cockpit view too, because that's also very heavy, especially when you're flying over Central Park here. Because there's so much surrender, there's so many trees, baseball field, there's water. It's always been a very heavy scene surrender. I remember when this game first came out, there were so many stutters when you flew over Central Park. that was like the main benchmark scene was New York City and Central Park. At least I kind of felt like I found that Central Park was such a heavy scene because I would always fly over because I'm kind of like a nature enthusiast. So I like seeing trees and parks and stuff. So just something that I've always kind of benchmarked is this city, and also sometimes I do San Francisco because I am very familiar with that city as well. But overall, smooth sailing. The frame timing graph looks pretty good. I mean, no huge stutters. There's a few little minor stutters. It looks like the texture streaming assets did improve, so my internet did kick in, and now we're getting the higher quality texture assets because the buildings look exactly how they should look from what I recall in my prior videos. But yeah, such a beautiful title to appreciate, you know?
1,000.
The aviation aspect, the world aspect, you got the entire world that's rendered live, real time.
1,000.
I mean, what other game does that, you know? Or what other title does that, I should say, because it's simulation. But that's just something that's always fascinated me about this title, is that it's just such a ginormous world, you know? It's the whole world. I mean, that's just like so cool. Okay, so now just for fun, let's test out 1080p. So we'll really put the stress on the CPU here. So let's go to 1920 by 1080p, and then you gotta usually apply 2 times. I'm not sure why you have to do it in Flight Simulator, but that's just something I've noticed. And now obviously the MSI Afterburner is like taking up half the screen, but we'll just play just for a little while, see how smooth it is. Probably will run a lot smoother because of the lower resolution. It's kind of an extreme turn for an airliner, but hey, this is Lou's WX, right? He's a little bit of an extreme driver sometimes. Slash pilot. It's like we're a little bit into the clouds here. But yeah, it's such a cool title, you know? Now, from here, on my point of view, like, the buildings look like really low quality because of this 1080p resolution. But I think once you get closer, it looks a little bit better. Or if you get to the external view, it's not so bad. I'm gonna try to mix it up, though, try to show the cockpit view and also external view. I know all the flight simulator enthusiasts always like to see the cockpit view because, you know, they got their simulation stuff for their PC, so they like to really make it seem like they're flying, you know? So that's understandable that they want to see the cockpit view. But yeah, very smooth sailing. That frame timing graph looks impressive. 9 milliseconds. Of course we're at 1080p, but even at 4K it was actually pretty good. Beautiful sunset though. Love it. Okay, so now briefly let's go back to 4K, just put it back exactly where we started this video at. And we will try to wrap up the video pretty soon here. And then immediately I could tell the plane, the buildings, it just looks so much more higher resolution, which it is. It's a higher resolution. And I got a 4K native screen, so you put things at 4K, you're going to have the highest image quality because of the fact that it is designed to show you a 4K image. Beautiful, beautiful aircraft. One frame stutter there has spun around, but pretty smooth sailing. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this little short video presentation of Flight Simulator 2020. And like I said, I do look forward to playing Flight Simulator 2024 in November. But until then, if you did like the video, do give this video a like. And if you want to see more content like this, more 4080 Super gaming videos, along with our AMD Ryzen 9 7950X 3D CPU, feel free to subscribe. So thanks for watching. Appreciate all the support. And hope you guys enjoyed this presentation of Flight Simulator 2020. Later, guys. Peace out.